Welcome back to the Paranormal State, Washington, and UFO UAP. With Makāula Nakae, a lifelong experiencer and ET contactee since 1990. Today's episode, 1916 Railway Light Row, Rochford, England. A ghost train in the sky. Among the scattered anomalous reports of the First World War, the encounter logged on January 31, 1916, near Rochford, Essex, England, stands out as a monumental historical milestone. It is officially recognized by Guinness World Records as the earliest documented UFO sighting by a pilot. While patrolling British airspace during a period of intense home front anxiety over German air raids, Royal Naval Air Service, RNAS Flight Sub-Lieutenant J.E. Morgan experienced an airborne anomaly that completely defied every convention of contemporary military aviation. As Morgan navigated the dark night sky at an altitude of around 5,000 feet in his BE-2C biplane, he suddenly spotted a rigid horizontal alignment of brilliant, luminous light slightly above and to his starboard side. He described the formation not as scattered or erratic orbs, but as a structured row resembling the brightly lit windows of a passenger railway carriage, with the blinds drawn. Believing instinctively that he had intercepted an enemy Zeppelin airship, hovering a mere 100 feet away, and operating under the chaotic combat pressures of a wartime patrol, Morgan drew his service Webley revolver and actually fired his pistol at the illuminated structure. Immediately after firing, the pilot witnessed an impossible maneuver. Instead of banking, gliding, or falling like a conventional aircraft or a damaged airship, the luminous carriage of lights executed a sudden, flawless vertical ascent, rising straight up into the upper atmosphere at staggering speed before blinking out entirely and vanishing from the dark. Shaken by the encounter, Morgan eventually landed safely near the Thames estuary. When he filed his official after-action report, detailing the railway-like lights shooting vertically into the night, military superiors were left entirely baffled. British intelligence could neither attribute the encounter to any domestic experimental craft, now reconcile how an object could defy standard aerodynamic climb rates. For aviation historians and ufologists, the Rochford incident remains a fascinating early window into high strangeness. Long before modern radar screens or the term UFO existed, frontline pilots were already confronting silent, impossible geometries in the dark, proving that the anomalous skies of the 20th century began decades before the famous flying saucer wave of 1947. Picture this, it is January 31st, 1916. World War I is raging and Royal Naval Air Service Flight Sub-Lieutenant J.E. Morgan is freezing his buttons off at 5,000 feet over Rochford, England in a BE-2C biplane. His plane sounds like an angry lawnmower bolted to a kite, and his primary instruments consist of vibrating needles, prayer, and whatever the wind is whispering into his goggles. Suddenly, out of the pitch-black English sky, a rigid row of glowing, luminous lights glides past his starboard side. It looks precisely like a passenger railway carriage, with the blinds drawn, floating in the middle of the dark upper atmosphere. Now, how does a rational, battle-hardened Edwardian military officer react to seeing a flying train? Does he gently adjust his monocle, take notes on a clipboard, and mutter about atmospheric inversion? Absolutely not. He draws his service Webley revolver and starts blasting away at a celestial Amtrak with a handgun. Because nothing says Rule Britannia quite like attempting to shoot down a multi-ton interdimensional locomotive with a sidearm designed for close-range trench warfare. When Morgan landed and filed his report about the flying railway carriage shooting straight up into the stratosphere at Mach, whatever, British military intelligence essentially developed a collective twitch. At the time, Britain was gripped by the airship scare. Citizens were convinced that Kaiser Wilhelm was sending fleets of silent Zeppelins to bomb London's tea reserves. So, when an aviator reported a glowing commuter train scaling the heavens vertically, the establishment did what every bureaucracy does best. They panicked quietly, shuffled the paperwork into a drawer marked, "Let's pretend this didn't happen," and blamed it on swamp gas or German dark magic. It was the birth of the modern cover-up, not driven by sleek men in black suits, but by exhausted clerks who simply did not have the bandwidth to deal with airborne locomotives. Fast forward 25 years to World War II. Human technology had upgraded from canvas-wing biplanes to roaring Spitfires and Lancaster bombers, and lo and behold, the universe's cosmic pranksters decided to keep pace. During World War II, Allied pilots flying over Europe and the Pacific started reporting Foo Fighters, glowing metallic orbs that buzzed their wingtips like sarcastic celestial gnats. But notice the evolutionary leap. In 1916, humanity was still processing the Industrial Revolution, so our anomalous visitors wore the structural aesthetic of a Victorian railway carriage. By the 1940s, we had invented the airplane, so our anomalous visitors started showing up as glowing spheres and disc-shaped saucers. It turns out high strangeness has a deep appreciation for interior design trends. By the Cold War, the military-industrial complex looked at these aerial anomalies, looked at each other, and said, if we can't beat them, let's see if we can drug someone into hallucinating them. This brought us straight into the delightfully paranoid realm of Project MKUltra, where brilliant chemists like Dr. Sidney Gottlieb spent millions of dollars locking innocent people in safe houses, pumping them full of LSD, and strapping motorcycle helmet speakers to their heads to see if they could manufacture a human being who would happily pilot a flying railway carriage into enemy territory. While the CIA was busy trying to turn accountants into Manchurian candidates, the public was looking up at the sky, seeing strange disks, and deciding that the Cold War was terrifying enough without adding little green men to the geopolitical ballot. The government realized that letting people believe in alien abductions made for a fantastic smokescreen. Why admit your top-secret experimental spy plane just crashed in New Mexico, when you can just nod solemnly and let the public assume it was a delegation from Zeta Reticuli? Here we are in 2026. What would Sublieutenant J.E. Morgan make of our current era? We no longer need to fire Webley revolvers at flying trains because we've digitized the entire panic. Today, if a glowing row of railway windows appeared over Rochford, nobody would reach for a sidearm. Within 4.2 seconds, it would be trending on social media. Half the internet would claim it's a classified DARPA drone, a quarter would insist it's an Elon Musk Hyperloop prototype, and the rest would be arguing in the comments about whether the aliens used AI to generate the lighting. The raw, crude methods of the 20th century, safe house syringes, electroshock, and bulky audio loops, have mutated into the sleek, invisible architecture of cognitive warfare and algorithmic curation. We no longer need government agents to hack our consciousness. We voluntarily hand our inner monologues, biometric data, and psychological vulnerabilities to smartphones every single day. Yet, as we stare into our glowing screens in 2026, the core mystery remains utterly unchanged since Flight Sublieutenant Morgan emptied his revolver into the foggy English night. Whether it's a 1916 ghost train scaling the heavens, a World War II Foo Fighter pacing a bomber, or an unexplainable UAP dancing across modern radar, the universe keeps reminding us of one humbling truth. Humanity has spent centuries trying to map, classify, and weaponize the skies. But the high strangeness realm is still driving the train, and we're just passengers along for the ride. To be continued. Watch and listen. Watch the cinematic video trailer. Listen to the full podcast now. Explore the archive Cosmic Awakening Volume 1, 1991, Peru, Journey into the Unknown. Sacred Valley of the Incas. Volume 2, Ascension 2012, The Golden Alchemy. Part 3, The First Contact and the Paranormal State. Join the journey. New episodes drop periodically. Each chapter delivers a tight, hyper-focused 10 to 30-minute exploration into the evolution of ufology, perfect for your daily plunge into decoding hidden messages from outer space, designed to raise awareness and foster human evolution. Subscribe to support your inner development. Thumbs up to help push our channel through the algorithm. Comment below. Share your thoughts on today's episode.